My name is Gordon Merck. Welcome to What's New News.
And I'm Katie Fox.
Tonight we will be talking about government intervention in our schooling systems. Good, bad, a few different topics we got to cover. First, we're going to talk about Katie with resource officers in school.
Thank you, Gordon. What do you think about resource officers in your schools? Good? Bad? Worth the money? Who should be paying for it? Well, I'm going to go into some detail about how we are using them in our schools. An example of a resource officer is a police officer who has been designated to a certain school, and he will manage traffic, handle any scary things going on in the school, and basically be there to protect and serve. In my experience, I had a resource officer, and he actually tackled a guy who had a gun in the school, so that was good. We liked that.
Yes.
They also are able to do lockdowns for the school to look for drugs. We once had 12 dogs come in and sniff around a little bit.
Oh, yeah. That's always fun.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, the resource officer is going to protect the students and staff, and is actually not a staff member, so they get the benefits of being a police officer while working school hours. They get summers off, get paid well. Sometimes it makes children feel more safe. Sometimes it makes others not feel as safe. So there's some cons to this, It's a lot of money to pay an officer to work 9 months out of the year, while the rest of the officers are working 12 months. It's different hours. It's not as fair. Would that be the right word?
Fair to the police officers?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah. Some students feel uncomfortable with having a police officer in school. How do you feel about that?
I feel that resource officers are very good. In my experience, I had a resource officer in my high school. I never, saw them tackle anyone like you did, but, he was there. I mean, it was kind of nice as a student to know that, like, if anyone came into the classroom or came into the school, that there was an officer there to, help protect us. But yeah, I think they're a great idea, and I definitely think they could be utilized in schools.
There's a little debate on who should be paying for the resource officer. The government is paying right now, obviously, because they're from the police station, and there are debates saying that the school should be paying for the resource officer, which I don't personally agree with, because they're there to protect, and if the school's paying for it, who's saying that they're going to get the best? Also, they're trained, and they're trained by officer school, so would they get the same training, or would they not? There's many questions to ask. Also, is our resource officers doing enough in our schools? Yes, it may be expensive, but we have programs like ROTC to prepare people for military, so why aren't we having programs like that with the police officers? Do you think that'd be smart to spend more?
Yeah, definitely. I think that with the government spending more, or the school spending more?
So put in a
youth
program,
youth program for the police. Yeah, I think that would definitely be a good idea. I think from my home, we have what's called a police athletic league, which is kind of run by the police to kind of get the students, the younger students, to go out. They play baseball, football, all different types of sports, and that kind of gets their name out there. But I kind of like to see maybe, kind of like you were saying, an ROTC program out there to work with the children, because maybe that's some of the paths that some of the children would like to take. I would like to see that.
Yeah, I mean, if they're going to have programs for military, why can't they have programs for police? Some people don't want to go to college. Some people just want to go right into it. So I think that'd be a smart move.
Yeah, I think so too.
Our government really intervenes in certain ways, but in this topic, are they doing enough, or are they not doing enough? Our money is being spent poorly anyway, so why not shift it around a little bit and put it to good use?
Yeah, there you go.
Well, thank you for listening to my spiel on the police officers in schools. Now to Gordon to talk about our No Child Left Behind Act.
The No Child Left Behind Act. Some of you may ask yourselves, you don't know what it is. So, the No Child Left Behind Act was brought to the House in March of 2001. The No Child Left Behind Act aimed to ensure that all students, regardless of race or socioeconomic status, would have the opportunity for a solid education. And the president that enacted that was President George W. Bush. So what does the No Child Left Behind Act actually do? According to the U.S. Department of Education, the No Child Left Behind Act provides school districts with more funding in the form of No Child Left Behind bonuses, as long as those schools are achieving standards set by the No Child Left Behind Act. So many of those things you might see in Virginia, for example, the SOLs. Those are met for state standards for your teachers and your classrooms to achieve and to get to at the end of the year. What are your thoughts on SOLs?
I was never a fan of them going through school because they pretty much, if you're bad at test taking, you're not going to move on. And I'm not the best test taker. I'll be the first to admit it. So why should I be punished for not being able to do a task like that when I know the information in other circumstances?
Yeah, that's one of the big debates with the No Child Left Behind Act, but we'll get on to that later. Some of the other things that the No Child Left Behind Act lets the community and the school districts be a little bit more flexible about using their resources. One of the things that the No Child Left Behind Act did was for public education, if your school did not meet the standards set by the state, you could actually choose to send your child to a different public school, which I thought was a pretty cool concept because normally you can't do that with public schools. It's kind of whatever district you're in. But with the new standards, if your school did not make the regulations, you could send your child to a different school, which I thought was a pretty cool thing. And also, if your school did not make those standards, the government would put you on a plan to kind of get you back into making those standards. If you would miss the standards, I think it was 2 years, maybe, I'm not sure. Improve each year. If you did not improve each year, after a certain amount of years, your school was given an improvement plan, which was pretty cool, I thought. So. Results have shown that the nation is still on track to reach the 2014 deadline, which is quickly approaching, for the universal grade level proficiency in math and reading. In the past year, a number of schools across the nation have met their annual yearly progress, so that's very good. Some cons of the No Child Left Behind Act are that many teachers feel that it kind of boxes them in with having those standards. They kind of have to now teach to the test or teach to their standards, so the teachers don't feel they have free reign. What do you think about that?
Well, I agree with them to a degree, but you are a public school and you should be on a curriculum. So, well, yes, I don't think they should be teaching to the test. I think they should be teaching to educate. I also think that they should be on a plan.
I definitely agree with you. Some teachers say, they don't have enough time in the day, but I've talked with many teachers that say, even with the SOLs, they can still find time to, do things they want to do or teach the way they want to teach. Just because they have those set SOLs there doesn't mean, those set standards there doesn't mean that you have to teach right to them. You can find fun ways to teach your students and teach the activities in class without having to be set to that standard. So, another one of the cons of the No Child Left Behind Act is that all the students are set to the same standard, which I definitely think is not a good thing. Some of the lower achieving students might need extra help, but because of the money spent on those standards and the No Child Left Behind, the school might not have enough money to help those students who are less proficient, but the gifted students and the students who are in need are not getting the same, or are getting the same amount of instruction time, and I just don't think that's right. What do you think?
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with you on that one because there are some kids that need a little extra help, and the kids who actually don't have to try that hard, they're settling. So it really doesn't allow for improvement or achievement to the point where some of these students can actually reach.
Yeah, I definitely think so. Well, that is it for our cons. Now we're going to go to a commercial break.
Now math increasement is really quite effective to grasp the kid who wants to be the brand new detective. Technology is increasing, causing kids to stop sleeping. Math and science where it's at. What you gonna say to that? School state tests have really taken a beating. According to the year's monthly school board meeting, focuses mainly on the math and the reading with a section or two on the new science writing. Subject isn't tested, then why should we go teaching? Guess there's no more art or history unless the students seek it. 71% of schools being increasing, but they're finding more students, those that off for just sleeping. Enter into college with such high hopes, but end up saying later at the end of their rope. Instead, they go and major in communication studies and encourage switching majors, especially toward the buddies. Economy at this way will continue to flop until the students say they had enough and to stop. Until the day happens, which seems to be rare, the government thinks that this way is fair.
Welcome back to What's New News. Now we're going to go out to the field with our field reporters, Kayla and Zach.
Currently, a great deal of attention has been focused on the issue of real importance to the future of our nation. The need to train more undergraduates in science, technology, math, and engineering fields. Currently, more than 40% of entering college freshmen who plan to major in the STEM-related fields change to non-STEM related majors by graduation. What do you think the cause of that would be, Zach?
I think the cause would be that students feel pressured about getting to science courses, which makes them change their decisions.
That's a great opinion right there, Zach. Did you know that currently 71% of the nation's 15,000 schools have reduced the hours of instructional time spent on art, music, and history to open up more time for science and math? I think that is a tremendous improvement, I suppose, on wanting to further better children's education. Do you agree?
Oh, completely.
Completely. Let me go on to our first finder about how he feels about math. Sir, how do you feel about the increase in math in public schools nowadays?
Well, I feel that it's essential because with the technology these days, we need more mathematicians.
All right, and do you feel as though if you would have had more math classes in your public school days, would you have changed your major in college?
No.
All right, and there you have it.
And now, our second interviewee. I have a question about science in the classroom. Do you think that science in the classroom is beneficial to students?
Yes,
And why?
because teaching students science helps them to better understand the world around them, and it also helps develop their critical thinking and their ability to see how small concepts play a part in a larger role.
Very nice. Another question. What are some pros and cons about science in the classroom?
Well, the pros would be, I guess, an extension of what I just said. They'd understand even more about the world around them. But a con would be if you focus more on science, that decreases the focus in other areas, and especially in like an area like English, it could lead to decreased, not literacy, but decreased skill in writing and decreased finesse, I suppose, in papers.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Now on to the standardized state testing. We're going to ask this lovely lady right here how she felt about the standardized testing back in her days. Do you feel as though if a subject is not tested, it should be taught in classes?
I mean, like with history, without being taught, it's like repeating itself. So we should be taught history.
All right, and how do you feel if there are no jobs in art and history, should we continue to promote those subjects at such a young age?
I think so because you want to learn about where you basically came from, learn about the history and what happened before everything to now.
Now we're going to go on talking about math. Here I have a question for you, sir. How do you feel about the math increase in public schools?
I think it's a good thing with all the new technology nowadays that people need at least a basic understanding of math to achieve something, get a job or something.
All right, and do you feel as though if you had more math classes in your education previous to college, would that have changed your degree?
If I'd had more math classes in my previous education that feel like engineering or something, probably more of a broader horizon.
All right, and there you have it from your own students right here at Lynchburg College.
Well, thank you very much, Kayla and Zach, for those riveting questions out in the field. Well, that wraps it up for our newscast tonight on government intervention in schools. Thank you and good night.